Super Smash Bros. Is one of the highest selling games for every Nintendo console, garnishing a huge audience for fighting with everyone's favorite Nintendo characters. Though Smash was never meant to be played as a competitive game, the explosion of popularity with Smash birthed an amazing community with some of the most iconic moments in esports. But these games also have some of the biggest controversies as a fighting game within the FGC. Every Smash Bros. Game has one or two characters that brings a lot of discussion and sometimes flat out hate. These are the most controversial characters in every Smash game. What makes a character controversial though? It mostly comes down to if something is too good, very defensive, or flat out boring for an audience to watch or players to go against that takes away from the game. Especially when there are infinite combos that take little to no skill to execute, or one character is truly the only choice if one wants to win. The discussion of characters or techniques being banned has been something that has been almost 2 decades old, as Smash is one of the oldest competitive games played today. Let's start with Smash 64. The oldest game in the series that released in 1999 has a clear character that is overused, hated, or seen as the best in the game without a doubt. Pikachu rules the competitive Smash 64 scene even to this day. For years, Pikachu was seen as the best, and many players use him since he was the #1 character by a good margin, even raising controversy in the competitive scene in 2017 where there were talks about possibly banning the character for tournaments. Pikachu has great mobility, strong combos, and the best recovery in the game, making people play the character or fall behind with others. Many people believe that Pikachu would be the demise of the Smash 64 competitive scene since he was played by so many top players, allowing not much growth on already a capped game. For many who don't know, Smash 64 is very limited, only having one stage legal for competitive play, being Dreamland. So if most top players use Pikachu and on their one legal stage, it becomes very boring for viewers and even players. Smash 64 is on the low end of controversy since Pikachu isn't unbeatable or untouchable like some characters in other games. Coming into the second most popular game in the franchise is Melee. Melee has 2 controversial characters being Jigglypuff and Ice Climbers. Puff is a pretty controversial character because of how defensive she is and how she looks easy compared to the rest of the cast. Puff dies fast and requires an incredibly defensive style which to many players is unfun to both watch and play against. Puff matches, especially against other floaties, are also prone to timing out or leading to a boring experience for most. Puff is also a completely different character from the other top tiers, requiring a different skill set compared to the rest. One-hit KO moves are pretty unpopular in competitive games, and Puff's rest is no exception. While rest isn't a true one-hit KO, it's easy enough to build up the percent in most setups that lead into rest that guarantee a kill. Hungrybox, the reigning #1 player in the world from 2016 to 2019, has also shown how strong ledge stalling and aerial stalling can be, with very few characters having proper answers to these tactics without putting themselves at great risk. Puff being banned has even generated some discussion about whether the game would be better off without her. I main Puff in Melee, so I know better than most how people feel about the character. Now, as bad as Puff may seem, it's nothing compared to Ice Climbers. Ices are an incredibly polarizing character for numerous reasons. The obvious one you might be expecting is wobbling. Wobbling is an inescapable technique which off a grab guarantees a kill, so long as you press the A button at around 200 beats per minute. Wobbling is utterly broken to the point where most Ice Climber players base their entire gameplay around getting the grab to wobble. Wobbling has had an interesting history, being banned early after its popularization by Wobbles in 2006, though some tournaments still allowed wobbling. It was unbanned in 2013 at EVO. Following 6 years of controversy and complaints from spectators, casuals, and top players alike, wobbling was officially worldwide banned in 2019 after much discussion. This saw a tremendous decrease in Ices players, showing how insanely game-breaking the move was. Ices have issues beyond wobbling, however, as many sets have been recorded where characters freeze in place and cause issues for TOs who have to make tough decisions when those events occur. While handoffs are seen more positively by the community because they aren't guaranteed and look stylish, even they aren't popular with players. Dying to a handoff is RNG with what Nana does, and you're guaranteed to die if you're being handed off near the ledge. People still complain about Ices and Puff to this day, but have gotten a lot better as the meta continues to evolve and wobbling being banned. Going into Smash Bros. Brawl, Ices return once again as a controversial character. They're able to chain grab other characters infinitely and kill them by either spiking by the ledge or a smash attack. The real controversial character in Brawl, however, is Meta Knight. He's incredibly overpowered in Brawl, being extremely fast, having a solid combo game, and an incredible recovery. He has 5 jumps, a small hurtbox, great range, disjointed hitboxes, fantastic edgeguarding, and good kill power. For melee players, he's basically a hybrid of Fox, Marth, and Puff. He takes all the best aspects of those characters and meshes them together to create his very own tier SS. He's even banned at most tournaments because he's overwhelmingly overpowered compared to the rest of the cast. Meta Knight is the first ever character to be banned in Smash history. He over-centralized the metagame to the point where not maining Meta Knight instantly put you at a disadvantage. He has a few small weaknesses such as a less than stellar shield, lightweight which makes it easier to KO, and many of his moves can be smashed DI'd out of. There are very minor shortcomings with everything that Meta Knight has to offer, but he might just be seen as the best character in Smash. We can't forget about the unofficial sequel to Smash Bros. Brawl, Project M. And if you don't know, Project M is a community-made version of Brawl with melee mechanics. What seemed to be a more balanced version of Melee actually had some character problems around the end of 2013. PM was becoming the game to play, with many Melee and Brawl players flocking to the popular title. There was controversy around this time as it was the first Smash game to ever receive updates, which was the 3.0 version of the game. Many characters received buffs, and some characters were introduced into PM for the first time, and one of them was Mewtwo. From the start, he was a problem, never having a helpless freefall, acting out of hover, and doing moves out of his teleport. His tail length was so long that it could wall out opponents with ease and was insane for edge guarding. Mewtwo even had bigger hitboxes than Marth's sword. The PM scene started to see many players shifting to using Mewtwo as he was the best character hands down. Some players even finally won majors due to using Mewtwo, becoming Smash's first and only god tier character. Many majors were won with Mewtwo at the time but were short-lived. Version 3.0 lasted a full year, being updated towards the end of 2014, where the game seemed to be a lot more balanced. Project M is still getting updates to this day under Project Plus, but seems to have a lot better of a balanced game, and being the only Smash game currently still getting updated. Getting into the sequel for Brawl, Smash 4, Cloud and Doubles is quite simply built different, being so absurdly strong to the point of being banned. Cloud and Doubles is around SSS tier or even better than that. Cloud is more dominant in doubles than Meta Knight was in singles for Brawl, which is saying a lot. Cloud's strengths were magnified while his weaknesses were lessened. His massive hitboxes, disjointed moves, good damage, basic combos, and good kill power elevated him into a monster. His major weakness in his poor recovery was largely mitigated by his teammate. Limit Breaker was hilariously easy to set up guaranteed kills with. All of these attributes combined to give Smash its first and only SSS, and maybe its first even quad S tier character. The best character in the game for Smash 4 singles though was Bayonetta. She has a litany of broken options, from her counter, guaranteed 0 to death that you really can't do anything about, a great recovery, and good zoning with her bullet climax projectile, and unique bullet arts mechanic, where some attack after being held shoot out large disjointed hitboxes that deal damage. You deal damage by just simply throwing out moves. Her hitboxes are absurdly large, and even after the nerf, she still ended up being ranked as the #1 character. Many TOs and scenes considered banning her because of how broken and unfun fighting Bayonetta is. Top 8s usually had several Bayonetta placings, and at one point, 5 out of the top 10 on the PGR rankings were Bayonetta players. Other players started playing much better once they switched to Bayonetta, some even winning majors that they would have never won without her. She was so hated that players have never looked back to Smash 4 after Ultimate's release, as everyone was happy to leave Bayonetta behind as the best character in Smash 4. Now we're getting into the most popular series in the franchise, Smash Ultimate. With the game having over 89 fighters, there was bound to be some issues. There are 3 characters that stick out like a sore thumb. The first on the list is Hero from Dragon Quest, who was banned in 2019 at the local level. Hero is banned for a few reasons. He has a special move where he pulls out 4 random spells out of a pool of 21 spells. These effects can range from basic projectiles to insane KO moves. Some spells can grant him effects such as invisibility, like the power item, invalidate any edge guarding attempt, and guaranteeing an edge guard kill, and even straight up going kamikaze. These add extreme RNG elements to the game, with matches being at the mercy of Hero's spell list. The nail in the coffin, however, was the issue of a language barrier. Hero's spell names are tied to the language of the console, so if you went to a major in say France and you're from the US, then his spells would all be in French. This could cause massive issues, and the community decided to just ban him to avoid any controversies with the character. He wasn't banned because he was broken, but rather the language barrier and the RNG issues he brings up. Even having some spells kill instantly no matter what percent the opponent was at. If you get hit by it, you're dead. The stock is just gone, raising a lot of red flags within the community. Next is Kazuya. Kazuya has 2 insane things going for him: a large amount of intangibility for some of his moves, and an incredible amount of 0 to death combos, that even if performed incorrectly will still deal massive damage to any character, regardless of weight and fall speed. Kazuya is pretty similar to melee ice climbers, where games against him are boring to both play and watch. Playing against Kazuya requires an absurd amount of defensive gameplay that most spectators and players just simply don't enjoy. The only real counter to Kazuya is don't get hit, since getting hit at at any point leaves you vulnerable to dying on the spot. Kazuya was talked about being banned earlier this year from competitive play, but never really surfaced as he is the least controversial of the 3 characters in Smash Ultimate, having bad mobility as a character and gets comboed hard in return for his insane punish game. Last on the list, and still a huge discussion point, is Minecraft Steve. I still can't believe I'm saying Steve is in Smash, like what? He's very similar to Bayonetta in Smash 4, in which many unknown players were able to take sets from top players and even start winning majors. Steve breaks the game by essentially changing a stage's layout. He can create situations that are basically unbeatable. Steve can block the ledge by making a wall, he can restrict your opponent's movement and force them to take a risky gamble to maneuver around his blocks. You can't simply wait him out either, as camping is very strong for Steve. He can put blocks to protect himself from projectiles while mining more resources for more blocks and upgrading his tools to deal more damage and knockback. Steve was polarizing and had generated a lot of talk for a potential ban. It was a tough call to make as Steve was still relatively new and counterplay against him wasn't fully established. However, the discovery of a new tech earlier this year led to many regions banning Steve. The tech involved Steve creating a block to completely cancel out any hit stun and act immediately. Steve was banned in many regions and events soon after. Although some of these have been overturned, Steve to this day remains a polarizing character, with several regions and now major tournaments banning him. While some still allow him, will he be the next to be worldwide banned? Do you guys have any stories against these characters? Maybe you mained one or several of them in the past. Is there another character you guys feel should have been included? Leave your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to check out the Patreon. Thank you so much for watching.